Hello there and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at my most recent PQ performance and the deck that I took to it. So my last Stall Showdown appearance and PQ performance was not particularly great, so this time I thought I would go with something that is probably a bit stronger, and of course did win a World Championships. In my defence, I was playing it before that happened, so I was on it before it was cool, is what I'm going with. So what is the deck overall trying to do? It's got a lot of answers to your opponent's units via your own units and Talzin's action, along with the events that we've got, whilst also being able to keep our own units alive. And then we've got the likes of Ruthless Raiders and Devastators to just spam out and get us the win, get us over the line. So let's have a look at the match results that I had. So the main thing I was looking to not go against was blue-green villainy, so it was a little deflating to see that my first game was against a Gar-Saxon ECL. What was even more deflating was not having a turn one play in the first game. So that was an uphill battle, and I was probably guaranteed to lose that, and I did. But it took still a fair bit of time to get to that point. Second game, which I won, I don't really remember it, to be perfectly honest. However, the third game, I'm pretty confident I got Darth Vader ECL'd and timely interventioned Darth Vader twice. So that's always difficult to deal with as well. What I would say, however, is that the Darth Vader ECL isn't really what actually beat me. It was the inclusion of Legal Authority, so that is a 0 power plus 2 health upgrade that, when applied to a unit, it can capture a unit that has less power than it. It's especially effective for Gar because that upgrade will give it a +1 boost, and a lot of the units in my deck are only 4 power, so all he needs is a 4 powered unit, shove Legal Authority on it, and he can capture a hell of a lot of my stuff. So that was really what lost it for me, because I was losing damage output and they were gaining. So it was always going to be tricky. Round two, I was against a Qui-Gon Green. It was a player who was quite new to the game. However, I think this as a matchup would be quite favoured for me anyway. It was 2-0, and Qui-Gon, they're able to do some pretty cool things. They got the Qui-Gon Zephyr Sprite on attack to trigger Keller and Beck twice, but the problem I find with Qui-Gon is that you can do a lot of cool stuff with him, but by the time you do all that cool stuff, you've got 20 damage in your base, and it's kind of too late. So, yeah, that was a good win. Admiral Piet Red, so this would have been the pivotal game, or match, I should say, as to how high I would be able to finish overall. So I lost it 1-2, unfortunately. It was useful to have played this before, earlier in the week actually, because in one of those games I tried to disrupt their game plan, and then I realised, no, wait, I just need to try and hit base as much as possible and kill them before all the Devastator and planetary bombardment shenanigans happen. So they were the Invisible Hand variant, which I kind of cottoned on to, I think, before everyone else really realised that Invisible Hand with Piet would be pretty nuts. But yeah, lost first game, won the second. What won it for me in second? Force throwing them to finish off their Devastator, which I think meant they only had like a weenie droid, and I still had 3 units or something like that, so that was what won it for me there. And then the final game, they played 1 Devastator, and that's fine. I can deal with 1 Devastator, I can take that out. It's when you salvage it another 2, possibly even 3 times, I don't quite remember, that's when it's a problem. I can only do so much against that. I did make what I think is generally a pretty good play of Lompike shielding. I think I had 2 shielded units at that point. But of course, when you play Devastator, you can just go underneath the shields anyway. And I think I'd already been overwhelming barraged or turbo laser salvoed, so the units I was protecting with shields didn't have a whole lot of health left, so the Devastator took both of them out. I think if that didn't happen, then I probably would have won, but that's the way it goes. On to round 4, and this was the Legends of Force Anakin, so the new Anakin leader, and it was a blue Force deck. I won that 2-0. I think the issue that you're going to encounter with Anakin in general is that he just has to jump through too many hoops to get things done. I can do a lot of what Anakin was trying to do without having to jump through hoops. All I need is the Force, which I guess is the same for him. But yeah, I can play other non-Force events without. No, what am I talking about? I can play the same events as Anakin. I don't need the Force to do it though. That's what I'm getting at. There we go. Got there in the end. But yeah, that was 2-0. I think, I was probably quite favoured into that. And then round 5 against a hand 2 blue, so not a Force variant, although they did have an itinerant warrior. So at one point I was thinking I just need to get them to 28 health, and I'll have won. Game 1, from memory, they did have a turn 1 Grogu, so I forced through myself to make sure that he died, and I'm pretty sure I went on to win that game. In the other game, that I can't remember the one I lost now, to be honest. I think it just ran away from me. I don't find Han 2 as a leader to be problematic. I know a lot of people do, and I see why he should be, but I just never seem to have a problem against him. My win rate against him is very high in person and online. I don't know. I don't really see what the issue is, apart from Crate Dragon on 8. But just win before 8 is fine. And then the final game that I won against it, there were a couple of nice plays. Actually, it might have been the first game I won where they were on 6 resources with Han out. And you know what to expect generally. It's going to be a Luke at some point. I think they were expecting me to take out one of their units. I chose not to, so I played another unit myself to see what they were going to do. They attacked into my base. I thought, okay then, I will force lightning the leader, the hand 2 leader, so that they can't play a 7-cost unit. They then proceed to open fire me, so I'm like, okay, you did not leave yourself another play to make then. So I pretty much won the game because of that play, I would say. And then in the other game that I won against it, I managed to get Lon Pike down. They had Outer Rim Outlaws, Han leader out. So the Outer Rim Outlaws is a 3-cost 3/3 with a shield. They play Luke with Han's ability, so he's got 2 damage on him. I sequence it in such a way that I attack with Lon Pike, give the Outer Rim Outlaws another shield. At that point it had 3 shields, which is pretty funny. Attack Luke. Lon Pike has a shield himself, takes no damage. Luke has 1 health left. I attack into base with Talzin. Luke is shrunk down to be defeated. And then I play Anakin from my hand to -3 the Outer Rim Outlaws. And then I've got 3 units out. They've only got Han. They're in big trouble. And I won from there, basically. On to round 6. And Quinlan, along with Blue-Green Villainy, was another one that I was concerned how I would fare. I think Blue-Green Villainy, I was accepting I would probably just lose it. Quinlan, I wasn't too sure. I thought I had a chance. And I'm pretty happy with how I managed to play it, because the Night Sister Warrior is not a turn 1 play that we're generally very excited about. However, against Quinlan, it's actually very useful, because they are usually running a heavy discard and hand disruption game plan. And if you play Night Sister Warriors turn 1, well, they can ping it. They're not necessarily going to Tarkin Town it, and I think a debate can be had as to whether that is the right choice or not. The player that I was against chose not to. I think there is value in still Tarkin Town in it, even though you're not getting as much value, because it keeps me off the Force, and the Talzin deck desperately wants to have the Force in time for 4 resources, because that's when we can really start to turn things on. So yeah, in one of the games, Night Sister Warrior turn 1, followed by Power of the Dark Side, followed by 2 other 2-drop, 2-cost units, is what really set me up to win that game. I might have force thrown myself to get rid of their Quinlan as well. I don't entirely remember. But yeah, I was pretty... And Lon Pike, again, very useful when you are being discarded or having to use 2 cards to deal with your opponent. To just play it on 5 resources and you've got another unit out. So yeah, I was very pleased with how that went. The game that I lost against the Quinlan wasn't really close. I think I played a Ruthless Raider. They were on 6 damage and I was maybe on 16. I thought, okay, yeah, the game is done. Let's move on. So yeah, technically this is the best performance I've had at a PQ so far. However, it's a little hard to know for certain because the previous ones I've played at were 7 rounds where I went for 3. So if we did have a 7th round, who knows if I would have gone and made it 5-2 to make sure that it was a definite improvement. It is the highest finish I've had so far, 17th out of 60. I think my previous highest finish was 25th, maybe, something like that. So yeah, overall I'm pleased, and I feel like I have redeemed my most recent PQ performance, where I went with a Pilot Asajj Tarkingtown, and that did not go well at all. Apart from against Pilot Vader, I absolutely wrecked those ones, but yeah. Onto the deck itself. So we go with a 28 HP Red Force base and the Talzin leader herself. I'm sure you already know, but action, use force, give a unit -1/-1, so incredibly useful to finish off units or just to push in, what am I talking about? Prevent damage to your base over the course of a game. The probably most important thing about her is that she deploys on the 5. Her and Maul have quite similar abilities and use purposes, but the fact that she comes out 1 round or 1 phase earlier than Maul, Darth Maul that is, I think makes quite a significant difference. She's a 3/7. We know how difficult Quinlan can be to remove at that stage, so she's got the same benefits, and then on attack it's the same effect without having to use the force. So the most thing that you want to do when she's deploying on 5 resources, you can use the force to get the -1/-1, perhaps gain the force back, play Talzin's Assassin, that's a -3/-3, and then when she's out, -1/-1. So if they have a 5 health unit, you are able to take it out on her deploy phase without even using an event, which is, I would say, quite unique, and without even needing to attack into a unit, therefore keeping your units healthy, and that's her real power. On her deploy, I am generally looking to play 2 different cards, so it might be that I'm playing Power of the Dark Side and a 2-cost unit. I might be playing Fallen Lightsaber and a unit. Generally, the mix that I'm looking for is advancing my own side of the board or pushing in damage, along with disrupting their side. So it could be that I've got the Force, I ambush with Darth Tyrannus, I then Force throw them as well. And then the combination of Talzin coming out as well, it is very difficult to recover from that, and you are in a very strong position yourself. So onto the ground units, and the openers are all pretty much what you'd expect. I know some of them are running Director Krennic. I couldn't really see a spot in it for that, and I didn't think, what when defeated have I got? I've got these 2 and Ruthless Raider. I didn't really feel, a Night Sister Warrior. So I guess there are more, but because they're all cheap weenies, I wasn't too excited about Director Krennic in here. So the main thing to consider when you have these 2 drops in your hand, on your opening hand, is what are you playing against? So, as I mentioned before, against the Quinlan, the Night Sister Warrior is what I would go with. The other consideration is if you are against a control deck, it's entirely possible they will just take initiative and then Power of the Dark Side you, so you can go with Acolyte of the Beyond, so at least you're getting the Force when it's defeated. So, just a few things to consider. In general terms, Karrde is going to be the best one. When defeated, use the Force. So if you don't have a Force, you attack in, you gain the Force, and if she dies with whatever she's attacking, you can -2 them. So if they've got a Fall On, she can attack into it, you gain the Force, she dies, use her when defeated, -2 to Fall On, the Fall On dies. So she's extremely effective at trading upwards, as they say. The other use that you can get out of her is just running her into a leader unit. A lot of leaders have 4 power or more, so she's going to die, shrink them, and then a lot of leaders have 7 health. They will only have 3 health remaining, which is a Talzin attack as well. So overall, excellent utility potential. Fifth Brother, so a lot of people aren't really big on Fifth Brother. I've always quite liked him. Maybe I've always just had better success with him than everyone else. But his stats are poor, but his on-attack ping can combine quite well with Talzin to finish something off, or to finish something that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And you can deal with 1 damage to himself to give him raid 1. One thing to keep in mind is that if they don't have any units on their side on the ground, you do have to ping one of your other units, so you can't get out of that. The other thing that Fifth Brother combines well with is I've got Desperate Attack in the deck, which allows you to attack with a damaged unit, and it gets +2 for the attack. Well, Fifth Brother is going to be damaged by default pretty much. So yeah, I did manage to pull off a 7-powered attack with Desperate Attack and Fifth Brother, and that was very early on in the game. So yeah, that's a very good damage pusher. Grand Inquisitor. So he's just a solid force unit at this stage of the game, able to hit for 4. Hidden is very useful as well. Other friendly Inquisitor units gain hidden, so Fifth Brother would get hidden as well when you deploy Grand Inquisitor. I don't know if that ever became relevant, and if it did, I probably forgot about it. But he's just there to help hit some damage, and is a force unit, of course. Now, we come on to the 2 most important... Are they the most... Yeah, I would say they are. 2 most important units in the deck, which are Darth Tyrannus and Talzin Assassin. We'll come back to Lompike in a bit. But Darth Tyrannus, so long as you have Force, he is an ambusher. So what you would frequently be wanting to do is ambushing him into a 2 powered unit, and then put the shield on afterwards. So Tyrannus is a 4-1. Now, if you're playing against a Talzin yourself, then you will not do that. You will have the shield on first and then ambush, because otherwise he's just going to get -1 away. But yeah, if you have the shield on and he's damaged, then he is also a target for Desperate Attack, and then he can hit for 6, which is significant. Talzin Assassin, so the other option at this point, really, between the 2. So when played, you may use a Force, and if you do, give a unit -3/-3. So it's not limited to unit type, so you can help keep space under control, you can shrink a leader. Overall, very versatile and pretty damn essential in this deck. A 4-4, if she had another point of health, she'd be absolutely incredible. But yeah, those are probably the stats we can expect with such a good ability. Lompike, so this is one that doesn't seem to be making the rounds in any Talzin decks, but when there is a lot of discard going around, I think we do need some smuggle options. Yes, I know some of them use Hotshot Blaster. We'll get onto that, don't worry. But it's 4-6, so take down Feral Dragon, don't get rid of him. On attack, you can give shield token to an enemy unit, and if you do, give shield token to a friendly unit. So you'll shield something like, well, pretty much space. We don't massively care about space. Or if they've got Owen Lars out, for example, you can give a shield to him, because generally you're not going to care about him either. But yeah, just overall a solid unit, and its smuggle cost is unusual in that it's only 1 more than its base cost. A lot of them are 2 more. So yeah, not frequently played from hand. It is probably 90% played from smuggle, 10% from hand. But yeah, I don't usually play it on 5 resources either. It's usually a bit later game, or if I've literally got no other option, it's like, well, okay, I'll just play this now, or maybe I don't have a Force, then I'll play it as well. But yeah, very useful, very versatile, and just a solid unit. Anakin Skywalker, so 5/7, so he does hit pretty well. We don't have any heroism cards in the deck, so we are only ever going to get the -3/-3 effect, but similar to Talzin, Assassin gets us a bit of value, has more power, and probably more significantly is 7 health, because if you're playing against direct damage decks, then indirect damage decks, I should say, then that gives us a better health pool for our base. The Sun, as our 7 cost, he's a 6/8, but if you have a Force, each friendly unit gets +2/+0, and that includes himself, so he becomes an 8/8, which is pretty significant. However, I might have played him once, which gave them a problem to deal with, which meant my other smaller units could hit in. But I think I'm going to be swapping him for something else, and we'll get onto that a bit later. 1 Crate Dragon, basically as a finisher, or to guarantee that you're going to win. I'd seen in some recent PQ results that Iden Data Vault has been popping up quite a lot, so that was the main reason for inclusion, but I also thought, you know what, it's a good force throw target as well, if nothing else. Now, there were some games where I did get to 9 resources, but a lot of games I don't consistently resource when I get to 6 resources. It depends what I have in my hand and the state of the game. Because if all I kind of need are Ruthless Raiders, then I don't really need to resource past that point. So yeah, it's all quite situational. Onto the space units, and I have gone for the Fang Fighters in the main. I didn't want to lose game 1 automatically to a pilot leader, or if they put a Chewie on their turn 1 spaceship. Yes, we have Force Throw and Force Lightning to help deal with that kind of thing, but I just wanted a bit more security in that sense. Or if they slap a General's Blade on something, which again is unlikely because it's a blue Villainy deck, you know, you don't do that when there's Power of a Dark Side potential. Ruthless Raider, so another, I would probably say, cornerstone of the deck. We've got hopefully 2 units, maybe Talzin as well. By the time this comes out, we're hitting their base, doing a decent amount of damage, putting on more pressure by just spamming Ruthless Raiders, and of course Devastator. So 4/6, so again it's tricky for removal. When played, when defeated, deal 2 damage to enemy unit, 2 damage to enemy base, enemy unit, so it can help take some stuff out as well, whilst pushing in damage. And then the Devastator, of course, for 9/6. Assign all indirect damage you deal to opponents. The only other indirect damage effects we have are in the sideboard, but when played, deal 4 indirect damage to each opponent. So this can be a finisher, it gives them a massive problem to deal with, it's just serves all the purposes we're looking for in the deck. What I will say about Ruthless Raider, actually, is that it's very good at taking out Devastator. So against a P at red, I think I might have taken out 2 Devastators by attacking Ruthless Raider into it. So that is a little weakness of of Devastator, but, you know, it's all good. Onto the wild card. So these are cards that I highlight that perhaps don't see a whole lot of use in the game in general, or in the context of the leader that we're looking at. So I've gone for 2 today. And the first one is Desperate Attack. One was much more successful than the other, I'll tell you that. So this is a 1-cost attack with a damaged unit. It gets +2 for this attack. I had 2 in the main and 1 in the side. I wasn't entirely sure of the balance. It was basically a choice between having 3 of these or 3 long pikes. I think I'm happy with the choice I made in that sense. I'm not happy about the choice I made with Drain Essence. But yeah, this is just an extremely cheap and it's very likely damage pump that you'll be able to pull off. It's really not hard. Yes, it's conditional, but it is. Talzin will get damaged because she's got a big booty, as they say. Fifth Brother is damaged. Karrde is sometimes getting damaged as well. If you're against an indirect damage deck, you're going to have units that will be activated with this. It's honestly barely even a condition in my experience. Now, onto the second, much less successful inclusion, is Drain Essence. So it's 2 cost, deal 2 damage to a unit that forces with you. So the main reason I decided to include this was for space decks. So if I was against Vader, I'd be able to take out at least one of their space units. If they play double Republic Y-Wing, then okay, fine, I can't take out both of them, but it means they have to jump through a little bit more of an action to get through a Sanctioner Shuttle play. I had 2 in the main and 1 in the side. The other use for it was going to be if I'm against like a hero space deck, then if they play like a Grease Squadron A-Wing, then I can take it out because I have the Force and then I can -1 it. So that was the thinking and the logic. However, the field at the moment is so wide with so many different leaders being played and so many different decks that I think you just have to, unless you guaranteed know that the PQ you're going to is going to be flooded by one particular type of deck, I think you just have to make your deck the best that it can be with the game plan that it's strongest at. And then if your opponent is better or they can deal with it, then they can. And then your sideboard is to adjust for those things. Rather than trying to preload your deck with certain things to deal with certain things. That's kind of what I've probably learned from this PQ the most. Onto the rest of our events, and it's what you would expect, I believe. Force Lightning, so usually used to just kill things, and it's extremely versatile. It took me a while to come around to this card. I had to use it quite a few times, and then I realised, its biggest strength is actually the fact that it saves on deck space. We don't need Takedown and Feral Dragon. We've got a catch-all here, basically, or even Shatterpoint as well. And the losing abilities can be significant in the Piet red matchup. Force Lightning, their super laser tech. You don't even need to pay the extra one because it's only 1 health. So then you just use a -1 on tap with Talzin's action to get rid of a super laser tech, and they don't get the resource. So those are the kind of things you can do. You can turn off a Ruthless Raider and kill it. You can turn off Chewie and Power of the Dark Side it away. Potentially, would that be cheaper? Don't think so. Anyway, and then Force Throw, we all know it. I'm not going to talk about it. Just remember, you do need to Force Throw yourselves at times. If you absolutely need to guarantee a kill and it's not worth the risk, Force Throw yourself. It's fine. We have Long Pike to help extend our hand a bit. Power of Dark, I don't need to talk about Power of Dark Side either. What I would say, actually, I will talk about it. Power of Dark Side, I would say, is especially effective with Talzin because we have other ways of getting rid of units. So we've got the minuses, we've got Darth Tyrannus, we've got Rufus Raider pings, we've got Talzin Assassin, etc. So we are very effective at being able to kill their units without necessarily relying on events, which then means you take out their units, they only have 1 left, that 1 unit being something that you wouldn't be able to kill efficiently, you then use Power of the Dark Side, and you've wiped them clean. So that is all I will say on Power of the Dark Side. And then our only upgrades I'm running are Fallen Lightsaber ×2. So I'm sure you'll know, but put this on Talzin. She's an absolute beast because you'll be doing a 1 damage ping along with her -1 that she can do. So her stats are also 610 at that point. But yeah, in hindsight, I would have put a 3rd one in because sometimes you do need to go a bit quicker, and we'll have 2 slots because Drain Essence would be ditched. So in the sideboard, we had the 3rd Desperate Attack and Drain Essences. I had 2 Planetary Bombardments. This was mainly again for the Iden if it popped up, or just hard control in general, but Iden seems to be the flavour for that at the moment. And we do have capital ships to get the boost with Rufus Raider and Devastator, and of course if you have Devastator, you're basically going to win, because I doubt they have more than 12 health left on their base at that point. 3rd Fallen Lightsaber in here as well. Perilous Position. This would be another option to replace Drain Essence maybe, but I think in general the sideboard probably needs to be more geared towards being aggressive. We already have very good control, when I say control, unit control, deletion kind of things, tools in the main deck as it is. We perhaps don't need any more of that in the side. Although Perilous Position would be very good if you don't have an immediate answer to a particularly problematic leader, such as Twilight Anakin or a piloted leader. Agreed Parliamentarian, solely there for Kylo. However, I did have a brief moment where I considered if I should actually be siding this in against the Piets, because I did see salvage in one of the games before they devastated me with salvage like 2 or 3 times. However, I thought on balance, I need to be able to hit them harder than they can hit me back by the time they get Devastator out. So I thought a little 2-2 is probably not going to cut it really. So maybe this could have come in instead of a Night Sister Warrior, because those are the same stats and it's still a turn 1 play. But yeah, I don't know. I still think I made the right choice to just leave him there. Savage Repress. So this is the card I'm alluding to where I think would replace the Sun. The Sun is very strong, but it gives them an opportunity to sort it out. With Savage, you can manipulate things in such a way where actually they've perhaps spent their resources killing your units. You might have purposefully run one of your units into there so it dies, leaving you with less units than them, and then you can get the final, however much, if it's 7 damage or less, into base that you otherwise may not have been able to, and they can't do anything about it. So I think I am going to try him instead of Sun, and he may well be a 2-of as well in the main deck. So yeah, overall, could be very useful. So immediate changes, which I've probably already mentioned already, but remove Drain Essence from the main. It might still have a presence in the sideboard, but I'll have to have a think about that. And the main deck space that it takes up would be replaced with more aggressive options, so whether this would be more units, more pump effects or more upgrades, etc. I'm not entirely sure. I've already mentioned some for Savage Press, and then also probably some more upgrade options in the side. So, constructed lightsaber and arm to the teeth. I'm probably thinking more arm to the teeth because constructed lightsaber you're only hitting for one more, and you don't get the one damage ping compared to the fallen lightsaber. And then arm to the teeth gives us another smuggle option, and if you are able to get it to hit off, then that's an extra 4 damage that you'll deal in each phase until they handle it. In terms of some other options, some I've already just mentioned. Sorcerer's Blast, this was something I did have a while ago. However, I found it was doing more harm than good because I was losing the force, and maybe I just wasn't sequencing things correct at that point. It's an extremely good card, but yeah, I'm not sure it entirely fits here. We'll probably give it a go, revisit it. Ataru Onslaught, so this would be another aggressive option and one that Control would hate. So 2 cost, ready a force unit of 4 or less power. All of our force units up until Anakin have 4 or less power without being upgraded. So with Talzin, you'd be able to get another -1 in, which could be significant when she's out. So this is another option. Shoot down. This would be probably interchangeable with Drain Essence. However, unlike Drain Essence, you will get 2 damage onto their base if you defeat the space unit. So this is a potential, but if you don't fight any space decks or anything with space units with relatively low health, it's a dead card. So hard to know. Admiral Motti is perhaps the one with the highest potential. I did have a brainwave 2 nights before the PQ about what if I include Admiral Motti. He's a 1/1, extremely easy to trigger the when defeated of readying a villainy unit, because Talzin's -1/-1 is not limited to enemy units. So the dream scenario would be having Talzin out, you put a fallen lightsaber on her, you play Motti, attack their base, -1 Motti, Talzin's ready again, hit them 6 again on base. So yeah, I think I am going to find space for him in the next version of this, and we'll see if it pops off at all. Chirrut, he would be another option. The problem that we have is that we are pretty much stacked at the full resource slot. I think Tyrannus and Talzin Assassin do what we're trying to do better than Chirrut will. He doesn't have an immediate impact as such. He can be removed. He could have Waylay, whereas Tyrannus and Talzin Assassins have already done their damage when you've deployed them. So he's very good. He might go into sideboard, perhaps for something like if there's a Sabine that's on the ground, etc. Then Chirrut will be very useful there. But yeah, I think we're already quite well stocked at that point in the game. Arm of Teeth and Constructed Lightsaber I've already mentioned. So yeah, that's the deck and my performance. Overall, I'm happy with how it went. I think it could have, if I didn't have Garsax and ECR round 1, or if I actually had a turn 1 play in that first game, who knows what could have happened. But yeah, overall, I'm happy. I feel like I've redeemed myself in my own eyes. And yeah, there's a few immediate changes I would make. I'm likely to be going to another PQ at some point in this set, so whether I'll go with this or try something else out, because I like to change what I play all the time, I don't know. But yeah, I said I was going to mention Hotshot at one point, I never did. So we have to take into context my history as a player in this game, and I understand the logic behind Hotshot. I just would never want to play it. I played a lot of Shadow's Lando, the leader, so it took me a long time to even get used to paying 3 for Hotshot Blaster in other decks. I was very much, oh yeah, this costs 1, it's all good. And then when I played other decks, I'm like, oh, this costs 3, this is rubbish, not using it. I still haven't quite gotten over the hump of Arm to the Teeth costing 4 from Smuggle. I'm used to that costing 2. So yeah, context is everything. we all have our own styles and preferences. I I have no idea where I would even fit Hotshot into this deck if I was to have it. I mean, we know that Drain Essence is going, but I would prefer to have other things in there. And the other thing about Hotshot is that you need to have a ground unit that is actually still around and no Sentinels and all that. And I think Desperate Attack, you can do the pump earlier quite reliably. You can do the pump with your space units as well. It's not conditional in that sense. So overall, I prefer this as the surprise pump, so to speak. Yes, Hotshot doesn't extend your hand, but we have Long Pike for that as well, for the same number of resources. So yeah, anyway, just a little aside on my thinking on that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. It's probably, well, I say it's definitely been a longer video because of the nature of it. But I'll see you in the next one, and take care.